This is Steve from Boxing UK with the one and only Eddie Hearn. Eddie, haven't seen much of you lately.
No, good to catch up. We were supposed to do this last week, but finally got round to it. And we've been cracking on. Been a good couple of weeks. Got a big couple of weekends ahead.
Yeah, obvious question. How's it gone? What have you enjoyed the most, and what's been the biggest pain in the backside with all this?
I think what I've enjoyed the most is just having it here, being so familiar, obviously growing up here, but also the home of our headquarters, and to be able to come in every morning and see Fightcamp, see that structure, and it helps you to live and breathe the concept and the idea. And all week you build up, spend half the time in between testing, being quarantined, coming out, going back in, getting tested again. I've had a couple of weeks where I've been tested twice and having quarantine. It's like that's the pain in the arse, because I'm trying. Week one, I was just in there the whole time. Second week, I was in quarantine in the hotel, pass the test, do the press conference, leave, test again Friday night, go back, etc. And that's a pain in the arse. But we've got to follow the protocol, because we've got to be setting the examples as well. And I think that we've done a really good job. I think it's been nice and safe for the boxers. I think the British Boxing Board of Control have done a good job as well. And I think it's gone a lot better than expected, inside and outside the ring. We're lucky enough to have 2 Fight of the Year contenders in this Baker fight, and by the time we got to the main event, I was thinking could do with a cracker here. Thankfully, we got one. But tomorrow night, I think when you look at the card from top to bottom, they're all really solid matchups. And of course, we want a great night tomorrow, and then building up to the huge one next Saturday with Whyte, Povetkin and Taylor Pursuit. Still, I look out there and can't believe those 2 fights are happening out there on the lawn. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're called a lucky fella. You've really landed on your feet, haven't you, with the quality of your fights so far and the weather, and nobody's failed a test or anything?
Well, that's going to change on Friday, because the weather's going to apparently be thunderstorms and rain. So it might add to a little bit of drama. As long as we don't get rain, pushing it into the ring, we'll be fine. So, yeah, we've been lucky. And I think, one of the most enjoyable things about this project is the matchmaking, being able to say to fighters, and particularly managers and trainers and advisors, look, this is the fight we want to make. If you don't want to do this fight, we'll look at something next year. But the fighters have stepped up, and even people that have lost have also realised that it's done no harm to their career. They've been in great fights, or they've taken an opportunity, it hasn't worked out for them. So, I think it's been a blessing for the fighters and for the sport as well. And I don't think there's been anything like this. Forget boxing, in any sport. Probably sounds arrogant to say, but I think this has been the best project, and the project with the most publicity since the return of all sports from lockdown.
When you had the idea, Eddie, were you absolutely terrified of it going tits up, or?
Yeah, always. You always have that, those doubts. It doesn't matter what you do. When we went to Wembley for Froch Groves too, when we decided to go to Madison Square Garden with AJ, or Saudi to the Middle East, thought about, good criticisms you might face, but you've got to back yourself at all times. And sometimes you will always doubt your decisions in business, but you have to have the confidence to execute it. And just because you make a decision doesn't mean it's all done. That's when the hard work begins. And the team here have done a fantastic job. The content that we've been creating around Fightcamp as well has been great. And I think that's got a big future as well. Fightcamp's not going anywhere. This is just the first of a series of Fightcamp programs, if you like. And I think I've enjoyed looking at and building the content around it, because some of the guys over the first 3 weeks aren't household names yet.
Yeah.
They'll get a big leg up from this, but the way you make them household names is to promote them properly, to educate people about who they are, where they come from, what their story is. And as you know, every fighter has a compelling story. So we've been able to do that well. And yeah, it's been a good learning curve, and it's felt like a real challenge, which has freshened up our mindset and probably the sport as well.
I know there's obvious comparisons with you and the other shows that are going on. Mm-hmm. On the surface, Eddie, what's made yours so successful, and without naming names, other shows not so successful? Not just in viewing figures, but I mean as a spectacle as well, Eddie.
Yeah, well, I mean, the spectacle is because of the spectacle. You know, I mean, first of all, I think everybody who's coming back deserves credit. You know, it doesn't matter who it is, you know, because it's not easy. Everyone's losing money. We don't have to be doing it, but we're doing it to provide for the fighters, to keep our business going, and also to make sure that the sport keeps rolling in the right direction as well. I'm a big hater of studio shows. I don't think it's fair to a fighter to put him in that environment. You know, this is a sport where your career can go down the pan if you're not switched on, if you're not up for it. And it's all very well saying, yeah, when the punches start landing, you know, you switch on. When you fight here at Fightcamp, you switch on. You walk out of that tunnel and you look there and you think, fuck me, this is a major event. And that's the difference, because when I came into boxing, that was the problem with boxing. You used to turn on this TV and nothing told you this was a major sport. Nothing told you this was a major event. And we've built that to a point in the arenas with the Sweet Caroline and the ring walks. And now that's been taken away from us. So we've tried to replicate that with a setting and a scene that when you turn on your TV, the first thing you go is, fuck me, where is this? This is unbelievable. Bang, you're engaged. If you turn it on and it's just some dark studio somewhere, it's like some poor man's game show. Do you know what I mean? So, and you can, but again, it's not easy. You know, I don't blame people for doing the studios. It's just not for us. You know, and you see fighters. I mean, you saw John O'Carroll last night. Yeah. You know, lose, say, his career, but like, you know, you've just beaten Scott Quigg on Sky Sports, right? You are a top TV fighter. And now, I don't know what you're going to do. I'm sure you'll be back, and, you know, but it's the mistakes of going out into an environment. And all it was, no disrespect to Maxie Hughes, who boxed brilliantly, it was a flat performance because it was a flat environment. And I don't think that's, you know, for our fighters, I want to make sure they peak. It's a bit like Dillian next week. Imagine if he don't peak or he's flat and he gets beaten by Alexander Povetkin. He's mandatory for Tyson Fury, you know? Yeah. So I want to try and build that environment for him to go out and perform. So, yeah, viewing figures is one thing, but that's just about numbers and platforms, you know, and some platforming. Channel 5 could put on UV Kugan Cassius and it would do more than a Sky Sports show, because it's a terrestrial platform and most of the people are sitting there asleep with it on, you know. Does there
still get on Fight Week 4, Eddie? Because I'll fight Kugan on
I'll tell you what, actually thinking about it, that would be a big fight. I think that's one for the pay-per-view card. So
two big lads.
It's important to us to showcase the way we do things to the worldwide audience, and the feedback from the worldwide broadcasters and fans has been unbelievable. You know, this is something that's resonated around the world in the boxing community, so we're very proud of it.
Good man. Before we move on, Eddie, what's been your favourite fight so far?
I would have said Cheeseman Eggington, but I have to say Harper Jonas for me, because I think because I'm always putting myself in the firing line when I'm doing these women's fights. You know, again, I go back to, you have to trust yourself and you have to back your decisions. And I do, but there's always someone waiting to shoot it down. And when it goes like that, you just turn around and go, fucking suck my nuts, you know, because that is a situation where no one can moan, no one can complain, no one can talk about women's boxing. I like it, I don't like it. It's not even women's boxing, it's just boxing. And it was fantastic. So there's been a lot of moments over the weeks that I've really enjoyed. I mean, I really enjoyed the Tennyson-Gavin Gwynn fight. You know, I think Tennyson's never in a bad fight. But I also really enjoyed the performance of Dalton Smith as well, you know, against a very game Nathan Bennett. You know, and honestly, this Friday, not just saying it, I really feel like, you know, Fox against Doherty is a great fight. Yep. Shannon Courtney against Rachel Ball, great fight.
That's a potential crack already.
I know, backing Rachel Ball into the favourite now. She'll have 3 or 4 to 1. Nav Mansouri, Kieran Conway, great fight. Eric Donovan against Zelfa Barrett, going under the radar a little bit. Great fight. And if Jason Wellborn's up for it, which he assures us he is, I think him against Cash could be another Fight of the Year contender. So I'm just excited to sit down and watch on Friday night and just, you know, hopefully we're trying to build, you know, down there in the bubble, and like I say, when they come up here, that feeling where they go out and really perform. Yeah. And so far we've had that, and I think we'll get it again tomorrow.
Have you made any decision with the crowd noise and whatnot tomorrow, Eddie? Because I know you've experimented with both.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a Sky decision. You know, we talk all the time. The first week, say we had crowd noise, we had, I guess, what is commonly known as a hum. You know, like talking in the background. And I have to say that when I was there on the first week, it's eerily quiet. You know, so I didn't mind the hum, but the feedback was we want no crowd noise. So we tried it, and I thought it was really good. And one thing that I really liked was the corners, not just during the break, but during the round. You know, they go, oh, you got it, bang, yes, Terry. You know, and I love that, and I like to hear that as well. So I do think that if you asked the casual fan, they would prefer the humming, and if you asked the hardcore fan, they would prefer the silence. So I believe this Friday we're going with the silence again, trying to work on everything and get it absolutely spot on for the big one on August 22nd with Dillian Whyte.
Good man. Next week, Eddie, have we got 4 fights agreed for next week now?
So where are we up to? We've got Whyte Povetkin, we've got Taylor Pursoon, we've got Clay against Congo, we've got Cullen against Chelly, and we've got another heavyweight fight coming. We could have 6 fights next week, so definitely 5. I think, you know, it's a great... I love Cullen against Chelly because I love those fights because you can just throw them in and say, go on, boys, just knock 7 kettles out of each other, and they will do it, and they'll give you great... Clay Congo, really intriguing. Got a really good heavyweight fight that we're planning, should be announced tomorrow. And then we've got, of course, Taylor Pursoon too for the undisputed, Dillian Whyte for the interim world heavyweight title. So that's the big test next week. You know, we've had such a wonderful group of individuals in the bubble who have not complained, who've been playing cricket and football, you know, doing all their media obligations. And then next week, the egos roll into town.
Yeah.
You know, not even, you know, I don't blame them for that because some of them are undisputed champions. Some of them are ranked number 1 in the world in the heavyweight division. You know, some of them are Olympic gold medalists. So it's not even that their ego's that bad. It's just they're different. You know, they've got different requirements and different expectations. And, you know, the tough thing is them all being around each other in the bubble because there's no breathing space. And I said yesterday, you know, we're trying to put plans in place for Dillian to keep him separated from Povetkin because he shouldn't be around Alexander Povetkin. Number 1, because it's dangerous. Yeah. And number 2, because he doesn't want to become familiar or friendly with that guy. He wants to rip his head off next Saturday. So last thing he wants to do is start crossing him in the corridor. All right, mate? Yeah, all right, mate? You know, he doesn't, that's not his style. So
can you do anything to prevent that, Eddie?
Well, we're talking about getting like a Winnebago or like a big, you know, tour bus thing and just bolting it on the side of the building, still within the parameters, you know, marked by security. They can't go anywhere, only back through the bubble.
Yeah.
We've got to speak to the board about it and see if they're okay with it. But I think it's a sensible solution. I mean, Katie Taylor and Pursoon is super icy, you know, like them two. But Dillian Whyte and Povetkin is a bit more dangerous. So really, we want to get them in the ring. We don't want them having a tear up and rolling down the A12, you know. So, yeah, next week's going to be a real challenge.
Good man. None of the cricket balls have put Andy Yealand's windscreen out yet, have they?
No, I don't know how many complaints we've had this week, you know, but we're trying to do everything properly. And, you know, the cricket's been great down the bubble. You know, I mean, it's a challenging time for everyone. So it's nice to see people smiling, you know, people enjoying themselves before they rock up here for a tear up, you know.
Good man. Just a couple more. I remember when this all started, you said there was a real potential for shocks because some fighters will be ready, some won't. We haven't had any in fight camp yet. Are you predicting any? Because there's a lot of eyes next week on a potential shock.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to look at the ones that could throw up the shocks on Friday. And I believe all fights on Friday could go the other way. But if you look at the focused ones, I think you'd have to say Rachel Ball against Shannon Courtenay.
Yeah.
You know, I think you'd have to say as well, even Fox against Doherty. Fox is difficult to beat, really good fighter. And then I'd also look at Eric Donovan and say, you know, Southpaw, Zelfa Barrett trying to impress on his Matchroom debut, you know. And then next week, I think obviously some people back in Delphine Pursoon to beat Katie Taylor. I think Povetkin is super dangerous next week.
Yeah,
super dangerous. I mean, everyone's telling me he's had a great camp, you know. And at some point, maybe he won't because he's not quite human or normal, Dillian Whyte. But at what point do you go to yourself, shit, this is a big risk? You know, I could just go on holiday and I'm mandatory to Tyson Fury. I'm fighting a top 10 heavyweight, Olympic gold medalist, great pedigree, can really punch. And he's in the shape of his career, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, but Dillian, that excites Dillian. He wants to fight. He can't wait to fight next week. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a monstrous event. Time that comes around next Saturday, it's going to be huge.
Can't wait, Eddie. Just beyond that, Eddie, obviously the next main card that we think of is the October 17th up at our neck of the woods in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Just the latest on that, or any cards after that? Are we looking at getting some crowds in?
We're planning to have 2 cards before then. One looks like September the 12th with Whyte, and another one end of September, early October. We've got Selby Cambosis we're working on as well. You know, regarding the Newcastle event, we really want fans. You know, and we sort of took 2 steps forward, 5 steps back when we got the test event with the snooker, which the government then cancelled after a day because of a spike they saw in the region. So October was always the plan to bring back crowds. One thing is for sure, that fight card will be happening.
Get it.
So, you know, Ritson, the North East Savannah Marshall, you know, Joe Laws, you know, all those guys will be fighting. It's just whether we can get a number in an arena, outdoor. I don't care, but that card is going ahead. You know, that those guys all need to fight. So fingers crossed, we can move to a stage where, you know, even if we can get 1,000, if we can get 2,000, I don't care, but let's start trying to bring fans back through the doors again. So fingers crossed, that may be the first one with some kind of crowds in the arena. But even without that, that Newcastle show will go ahead. Maybe even in Newcastle, you know, behind closed doors, somewhere spectacular. You know, I don't want to do it. Like I said, I don't want to go in the studios in the UK. So we're going to be looking to do something exciting, but hopefully in front of people.
Magic. I'll not name names, Eddie, but obviously the big stars, AJ and what have you. What's the latest with the big pay-per-view fights that you've got? Any potential dates?
The 2 we're planning is Usyk Chisora, again, waiting on a crowd, was hoping for end of October for that, and also Anthony Joshua, which is December 5th or 12th. AJ will be fighting behind closed doors, in front of crowds, whatever it takes. But we're very hopeful that December 5th, we'll be able to start bringing people back through the building. And if not, we have to look at other territories, other ideas. But we have to also look at the development of his career. And it would have been a year since he's boxed. So he needs to box. Kubrat Pulev is the guy. And he's back in camp pretty much now, getting ready for that date. Good
man. Last one, I promise, Eddie. Everyone and the wives asked you about you and Frank Warren meeting up.
Yeah.
In your bit of grub. Has there been any contact since? We spoke to Carl Frampton yesterday.
We had a phone call. I think he wanted to meet me the day after. I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. You know, we've got these fight camps to get out of the way. And all the focus right now is on our business, our fighters, and delivering for our broadcasters. So I don't think it's something you're going to see happen anytime soon. We will have the meeting for sure. And it's good that we've got that sort of chain of communication beginning after all these years. There are a lot of fights on the poster that won't happen and can't happen, but there are some that have already been ordered and a lot of good fights on there. So it's definitely worth a discussion. Like I said, right now, our focus is on maintaining our position within the marketplace as number one. It's quite an unusual situation where I think the best way to describe it is if you yourself had a business and you had a competitor in that industry or that marketplace who had continuously spoke badly about you, continuously complained about you, continuously sent you legal letters, continuously tried to disrupt your business. But during this process, you'd got to number one anyway. When they were on the verge of, no disrespect, potential extinction, would you reach down to those people and help them out? Now, any man in the world would say, fucking no chance. But we do have an obligation to try and make good fights for the sport and to try and get my fighters in certain fights that are listed there. So I'm not going to be arrogant enough to say, no, goodbye, good luck, you're on your own. But I'm also not going to be stupid enough to say, yeah, come back with me after all these years. So we will do what's right for our business, our fighters, and our broadcaster. But definitely worth a chat, and we'll definitely have that conversation.
And who's going to pay for the bit of grub, Eddie?
I think it'll have to be me looking at the accounts.
Top man. Eddie, you're an absolute star.
Cheers, mate.
I
Thanks for the
appreciate your
support.
time.
Good luck. Take care.
All right.